John C. Maxwell and Rob Hoskins. Change Your World. How anyone, anywhere can make a difference. Narrated by Rosalind Tordesillas and Oliver Maines.
Have you ever felt like you're not living up to your full potential? That you have unique gifts to contribute to the world, but you have no idea where to even begin? We all have the potential to make a difference, but we get overwhelmed by the immensity of the world's social problems and end up doing nothing at all. These blinks will show you how to move from good intentions to taking action. You'll discover how to identify a meaningful cause, recruit a good team, and communicate powerfully. Most importantly, you learn that all profound transformation comes from within. If you're living according to your values, you'll make a positive impact on the people around you and change the world.
Blink 1 of 7.
Open up any newspaper, and you'll be bombarded with terrible news about the world. Hundreds of thousands of deaths due to coronavirus, wildfires ravaging countries, people losing their jobs and homes. The list continues. Reading that kind of news can make you want to throw up your hands in despair. But you can't afford to get demoralized or wait for other people to solve the world's problems. If you really want to change the world, you have to start thinking about how you can become a unique part of the solution.
The key message here is, in order to change the world, you need to become courageously hopeful.
We place artificial limits on ourselves when we buy into the belief that we can't change the world. So, the first step in becoming part of the solution is changing this mindset. We need to challenge our own hidden assumptions and pessimistic beliefs. You should replace your pessimistic views with the belief that you can make a difference. Sure, you may not be able to solve world hunger in one fell swoop, but you can make a valuable contribution. Brian Jarrett had every reason to be cynical and despairing about the world. Abandoned by his father, he was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. He spent his teens drinking and trying to numb the pain, but over the years, something changed. He realized that he had the opportunity to help youths in the same position he'd been in. He dared to hope for a different future, for himself and for the young people he worked with. Jarrett and his wife founded Lonesome Dove Ranch, a place of healing and rehabilitation for young people who had suffered abuse. The ranch has since made a difference in the lives of thousands of young people. Like Jarrett, you need to be courageously hopeful about the future. Hope isn't passive. Being hopeful doesn't mean that you're burying your head in the sand and just hoping for the best. Rather, it means that you're aware of the vast problems you face and believe that by taking action, you can help to make things better. As we learn in the next blink, we can all become catalysts for change. We simply need to identify a cause that moves us and then get to work.
Blink 2 of 7.
A man walks along a windy beach that is full of starfish washed up by a storm. He sees a boy tossing the starfish back into the sea one by one and asks him why he's bothering. After all, there are thousands of starfish on the beach, and the boy can't possibly save them all. The boy replies, "I can't save them all, but I can make a difference to this one starfish." This well-known story about the boy and the starfish contains powerful truths about how activism works. You can't save the whole world, at least not all at once, but you can start somewhere. By leaping into action, you will inspire other people to do the same.
Here's the key message. Become a catalyst for change by starting with small actions.
When one of the authors, Rob Hoskins, traveled to Lima, he met a girl named Tiffany who lived in poverty with her family. The family lived in a shack, and her father had a serious drinking problem. Rob helped her by connecting her with local organizations and support services. Thanks to that intervention, Tiffany managed to finish high school and even ended up founding her own school for other children in the community. Her leadership inspired her father to stop drinking, and her whole family joined in the effort. This is just one example of how small actions ripple outwards, creating bigger change than you could imagine. Rob was a catalyst for change, inspiring Tiffany and then her family and community to make a difference. So, how can you become a catalyst for change in your own community? Well, start by focusing on your strengths and passions. What are your unique qualities and experiences? Where can you add value to the world? What have you been successful at doing in the past? It's important that you own your dream, that it fits who you are and what you care about. Then you need to move from having good intentions to having good actions. Talk, as the saying goes, is cheap. You could spend your whole life pondering how to make a difference. But the real power lies in taking action with a sense of urgency. Don't wait for a perfect plan. You may never know how exactly to tackle the problem. For example, Rob didn't have a master plan for exactly how to help Tiffany. He just knew he had to do something. So he jumped in and took the actions he could think of at the time. You too should be emboldened to start somewhere and learn as you go along.
Blink 3 of 7.
Sam Yoder is a small business owner who was one of many affected by the relentless spread of the coronavirus in March of 2020. As Ohio shut down, he had sleepless nights trying to come up with ways to keep paying salaries for his 100-strong team. The solution came from an unexpected quarter. A printing company contacted him out of the blue. They asked if his company could help them to create plastic face shields, shields that were desperately needed by medical workers. The printing company had the raw materials, but no staff or production facilities. Sam and his staff needed no convincing. They converted their facility into a mask manufacturing warehouse and managed to produce 35,000 masks every day. Not only could Sam cover his payroll, but company morale had never been higher as everyone pulled together to make a difference.
The key message is this. Once you've identified your cause, you need to recruit a transformation team.
This example shows the great power of working as a team. Sam Yoder is an exceptional leader, but he could have done very little without the commitment of his staff and the collaboration of the printing company that donated the raw materials. Together, they made an enormous contribution to the fight to keep medical workers safe against the coronavirus. Real change always happens in the context of a transformation team. Together, we can achieve more than we ever could apart. But how do you find the perfect people to be part of your team? To start with, you should look for people who are already doing what you're passionate about. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. If there are already great organizations out there, then you can join them and contribute your unique gifts to their effort. If you can't find the right organization, then you may need to recruit your own. Share your vision with your friends, family, and colleagues. Ask them for feedback, and then invite them to join you in making change together. People become motivated by the chance to connect with other people and work on a cause that is bigger than themselves. Remember that working with the right people is more important than working with a crowd of people. Make sure that you surround yourself with people who share your values and are willing to throw themselves into working toward a solution.
Blink 4 of 7.
The Occupy Wall Street protesters were full of passion. In 2011, they spent weeks sleeping in tents in a New York park. They chanted slogans until they were hoarse. They spent hours and hours in meetings and discussions, and their effort inspired a global movement. But the protests soon fizzled out. Why? Well, in spite of their commitment, the Occupy Wall Street protests never cohered around a clear goal. The protests targeted, variously, concerns about Wall Street corruption, income disparity, global warming, and a long list of other causes. But it's not enough simply to be against something. Real transformation requires a positive goal toward which to work.
The key message here is, passion isn't enough to create a sustainable movement for change. You need clear goals and good leadership.
As well as lacking a clear goal, Occupy Wall Street also lacked real leadership. That was by design. The movement endeavored to be non-hierarchical and decide everything by consensus. But it meant that the group wasted too much time on unproductive meetings and had a multitude of cooks trying to stir the proverbial broth with conflicting agendas. Successful transformation requires good leaders. We need only look at the civil rights movement of the 1960s for a good example. The young preacher, Martin Luther King Jr., made enormous strides in fighting racial discrimination through his inspiring and consistent leadership, leading nonviolent protests across the nation that contributed to the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. After King's assassination, his deputy took over. But he was a less effective leader, and the movement faltered accordingly. Of course, a leader is nothing without good organization. Any movement requires a backbone of organizational support, be it paid or volunteer, that helps keep all the vital cogs moving. And transformation can only occur when leaders are supported by a grassroots movement. Without that, it will be too superficial to flourish. Just look at the example of Michael Bloomberg's 2020 primary campaign for the U.S. presidency. He threw lots of money at the problem, outspending all the other candidates on his nearly billion-dollar campaign. But he succeeded in winning only one primary race. There was no widespread grassroots movement fighting for him, so no amount of money could buy the real change he sought. Real change takes place with top-down leadership and bottom-up support. Most importantly, it happens when everyone is united around a common goal.
Blink 5 of 7.